Alright babies, today I want to talk about how to properly stroke your clit. So whether you're touching yourself or whether you're learning to rub up on your partner, this video is gonna be meant for you. Because all of us are entitled to feel pleasure, whether it's being given to us or whether we are gifting it to ourselves. For my lovely vulva owners out there, I encourage you to get to know and explore your own body and your own anatomy. Because self-pleasure unlocks the door to getting to know yourself and understanding how you like to receive pleasure. And that kind of turns over when you enter relationships or when you go to play with another person. That way you can tell them and show them and explain to them how you like to receive pleasure yourself. Because at the end of the day, we know our body best. We know what feels good, we know what touch, what pressure, what speed we like, and that is the beauty of learning on ourselves. Now, as a woman, I understand that we have been conditioned and we have been shamed and suppressed by society when it comes to sex and pleasure and pretty much anything intimacy. But it's 2024 and we need to throw that BS out because it is time that we stepped into our goddess girl era, and you bet your ass we are gonna be sex, money, magic goddesses. And if you didn't already know, one of the attributes of being in your feminine energy is that sensuality, is that sensual being. So when we think of pleasure and when we are stepping into our pleasure, I want you to embody the archetype of the seductress. That way, if you don't feel comfortable showing up to this video as you have an archetype and a different personality that you can embody. Because in this video, I'm gonna teach you 5 different ways to stroke your clitoris. After all, it is time that we step into our pleasure, and embodiment is power, baby. And if you're a dude watching this, you are also welcome here. These tips that I'm gonna give out are also gonna help you bring pleasure to your woman. But for the sake of the video, I am gonna be addressing women. So before I show you those juicy strokes, I wanna take a second to invite you guys to check out Beducated. So because you guys landed on this video or my channel just in general means that you are interested in your sex education, and you are interested in sex education that focuses on pleasure. Am I right or am I right? And Beducated gives you exactly that. But without running into the community guidelines of YouTube, let's be real. When you were in high school, they taught you absolutely nothing about pleasure. They pretty much just taught you about STI prevention and how not to get pregnant. What about the stuff that we actually want to learn about? What is going on with my yoni and what is going on with their penis? How do I provide them pleasure? How do I suck it? How do I lick it? And how do I touch it? Well, Beducated has given you exactly that. They actually offer over 100 different courses on everything sex education, with a huge variety hitting everything from self-pleasure all the way to kink. And the best, and my favorite part of it all, is they actually show you video demonstrations with practical tips. And yeah, I said video demonstrations. So you actually get to watch and you are shown how to perform and how to receive that pleasure. You guys, it literally feels like you are sitting with a one-on-one sex coach. Now, I don't want you to get it twisted. This isn't just some Joe Blow from off the streets. These are the world's top sexperts. Each sexpert has chosen which course that they specifically want to teach, and they are all so passionate about it. Now, one of my favorite classes is all about the female orgasms. My favorite thing about the female orgasm courses is that they actually break down each orgasm and teach you how to apply each technique to achieve one of the many orgasms we can have. Not only is it fun to watch by yourself, but it's also fun to watch with your partner, because sometimes it can be really hard to communicate what you want your partner to do, and this can be a really fantastic way to kind of bridge that gap and spark up the conversation. You guys have to check it out for yourself. I'm gonna drop the link down below. All you have to do is click the link down below, enter in the code PLEASUREBABY, and redeem your 24-hour access into the website for free. You get to choose out of a huge variety of courses and pick one that you want to take right now. But when you realize there's more than one course you want to take and these things take time, all you have to do is use that same link and the same code PLEASUREBABY baby, and you will be given 40% off the whole year, giving you access to unlimited toe curling orgasms, backed up by expert education. Master that new spicy technique or make that date night kinky. You guys have literally nothing to lose. You have 14 days money back guarantee, but trust me, I have been with Beducated now for over a year and I am still obsessed, and I am obsessed with learning about everything intimacy. And I know you guys are clearly interested too. Trust me when I say Beducated is gonna have your pleasure begging you to stay. All right, my little sex goddesses, let's get started with the very first step. I want you to grab a mirror, spread those legs, and take a good hard look at what God gave you. Because we need to understand our own anatomy and what we are working with. However, for the sake of this video, I'm actually not gonna be going through the anatomy with you, but I will drop you 2 links. One of them is the vulva gallery, so that you can see that there are many different types of vulvas, and all of our vulvas are 100% unique. And the second one is a picture of the general anatomy of a vulva. Now, if you want me to do a more focused video of the anatomy of the vulva, then drop that in the comments down below, and I can easily do that for you. But I know you came here to learn how to stroke that clitoris properly. Now, honey, this is your disclaimer here. This is not gonna be telling you how to rub one out like when you first learned how to self-pleasure or when you first experienced self-pleasure, because let's be serious, nobody learned how to please themselves. So when we first masturbated, chances are we were moving really, really fast and side to side, or more of that humping, grinding motion, which both of those are actually really great. However, we went straight for the clit and we did not have that anticipation, that build up. We were just trying to get that orgasm as fast as we could because it felt so good. But ladies, this is all about the tease. We are gonna build that anticipation and we are gonna drag this out. All right, so first things first, we need to grab some lubrication. So you can use a water-based lube, a silicone-based lube. I actually prefer an organic virgin coconut oil, but you want to make sure that there's absolutely no cross-contamination going on here. If you are going to be using coconut oil, that is specifically your coconut oil for masturbation. We are not using the coconut oil that we cook with, okay? So grab that lube, honey, because nobody likes that raw, dry-ass friction. And our vulva is actually not self-lubricating. Our vagina is, but our vulva is not. And we are talking about the clitoris, and the clitoris is not producing any lubrication for us. So we need a good slide and glide for max seduction and maximum pleasure. So we're gonna start that tease with stroking the inner and outer labias. Maybe it's doing some gentle labia stretching, rolling the labias in between your fingers. We are going to be awakening the lips and awakening the senses. Now that everything is all lubed up, I'm gonna get you to make a peace sign with your fingers, and you're gonna turn it upside down and it's gonna make an A. Using those 2 finger pads, you are gently gonna be stroking from the top of the clitoris all the way down in between the labias. So we're not actually going to be touching the clitoris or the clitoral hood, but we're gonna be on either side and we're gonna be stroking up and down. So right in between those lips on the back side, which we cannot see, is actually the clitoral legs. Now the clitoral legs are what makes up the G zone. So we are actually indirectly stimulating the G-spot. This is one of my favorite techniques. So while you are doing this stroke for a couple of minutes, play with the pressure, play with the tempo, but remember, we are slowly going to be dragging this out. So I want you to think about slow seduction. While you're doing that stroke with your one hand, the other hand is free to wander and stimulate those other erogenous zones such as your nipple, your neck, or your inner thigh, perhaps your lower stomach. As you start becoming more aroused, you are going to start dripping your beautiful nectar. We are out here to layer this cake. So when I talk about these steps, I want you to think of a wedding cake. So our first tier here was the breast massage. Our second tier was going to be that peace sign and the labia stretching. And our third tier here, we are going to ramp it up a little bit. So using that same peace sign method, we are actually going to be going down and coming up and squeezing the clitoris in between our fingers at the top. So you can come up, squeeze, and gently rock, and down, Up, squeeze, gently rock, and down. This is a really great way of gently teasing the clitoris, letting her know that you know she's there, and you are eventually gonna do some direct stimulation. But for now, she just needs that gentle wiggle, squeeze, and rock. Now, the next layer of cake is going to be called the orbit. Now, the orbit is exactly how it sounds. We are going to be orbiting, so circling around the clitoris. So I like to start with one finger and go around the clitoris and drop into the peace sign, come up and go around the clitoris and do gentle circles. Then you can start adding in a double finger and start going around, maybe switch the direction up, play with your pressure, maybe mix it up, mix the tempo, make it a little bit faster and then dial it back. A little bit faster and then dial it back. A little bit faster and dial it back. Pay attention to your body. What are your toes doing? How's your breath going? Check in with yourself. Maybe you need to come back and back off a little bit and touch your breasts again. Our next layer is gonna be that beautiful velvety buttercream. This has got to be one of my favorite priming moves before penetration, and that is the infinity sign, or you can think of it like the figure eight. So you're gonna start at the top of the clit and you are going to do a figure eight all the way down to the vaginal opening, circling around the vaginal opening up all the way back to the clitoris. And you are gonna just repeat that over and over and over again. Mix it up. Maybe you wanna add the peace sign in with the gentle squeeze again. Maybe you wanna orbit a little bit and then come back. You are going to notice that your vaginal opening has become very puffy. It's going to be engorged and filled with blood because you are becoming aroused. Now, men, if your woman is not aroused, you will not feel the blood flow come to the spot. The clitoris will have not become engorged and the vaginal opening will not become engorged too. Now, I do feel like this is where people go wrong. They always rush the foreplay and they rush the penetration, and that's when sex can become very painful, whether it's self-pleasure or whether it's penetration done with a partner. So we want to make sure everything is nice and lubed up, everything is engorged and blooming and blossoming like a flower, because when the blood rushes in, everything is going to double in size. Now, the final topping, which is your layer of sprinkles or Oreos or maybe fresh strawberries, is gonna be the sweetest tip of them all, and this is the honey pot. That honey being your delicious nectar that is dripping out of you. So after we have orbited around the clitoris, done the infinity sign, maybe move through those peace sign strokes a little bit more, we are then going to move back down to that vaginal opening, take one or two fingers and move into the honey pot technique. We are gonna take those fingers and we are gonna reach into the vaginal opening, take some of that juicy nectar and pull it back out onto the clitoris. This is gonna add a nice layer that we are going to use to actually apply direct stimulation to your clitoris, because honey, by this point, you are going to be like, touch me, touch me, touch me, touch me, touch me, except for we waited this long because we needed that anticipation to unlock those juicy orgasms. So when we are directly stimulating the clitoris, we can actually be doing big circles or making tiny circles. So we can even do that orbit technique and slowly move in on top of the clitoris. So if you want a more intense stimulation, you're most likely gonna like moving up and down and getting underneath that clitoral hood. Now, if you find yourself a little bit more on the sensitive side, stay on top of the clitoral hood and move side to side or back and forth. Now, if you want to play with more intensity, play with your pressure and play with your speed. Just because you grabbed your nectar doesn't mean you have to solely stay to doing the honey pot technique or the orbit. You can mix and match, do different techniques to stimulate to find out what you enjoy and what turns you on most. This practice is really about getting to know yourself and what feels good for you. It's almost like you're building and filling your toolbox with your techniques that you can use at any time during any of your sexual adventures, because at the end of the day, you might not have a toy with you, but you do have your hand. When it comes to being a guy giving your lady pleasure, there is one thing that I really want to recommend, and it is to let your lady know how much you enjoy giving them pleasure. Give them compliments. I love the way your pussy looks. You feel so good. You taste so good. Let them know how much you are turned on by turning them on. This helps create safety for us because, like I said, a lot of us women grew up conditioned and shamed around sex and sexuality. So by you expressing how much you're enjoying this, whether it be through communication, moan and groans, touch, whatever it is, that is allowing us to feel safe and express in your presence. So all of these techniques are really basic, really simple, really great, a really great foundation to getting things started, but they are always techniques that you can rely on and come back to. Remember, you can play with your stroke length, your pressure, your speed, mix it up. Try it out. And if you have a technique that you want to recommend, drop it in the comments down below. And I will see you babies next week for a little bit of a breast massage.